BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
The following podcast contains some strong language and adult themes, the sort of thing we call the fun stuff. If you don't like bad words, this pod probably isn't for you.
What a mate, not a single in there.
Yeah, you smashed that one, Crouchy. Chris, we're allowed one beat per show. You've just burnt through it.
Oh.
Anyway, on with the show. Back stronger. What the hell was that?
Oh, God, it's like bargain hunt.
Has Wayne Rooney got big shins?
But I genuinely have had a problem with Alsatians ever since.
What is Carl?
I've always wondered that.
Oh my God, I can't believe it.
When you say dirty undies everywhere,
Banging music.
some kind of sex burglar.
It was so loud.
I've enjoyed that one massively.
That's about it. Welcome to That Peter Crouch podcast with me, Peter Crouch.
And me, Chris Stark.
And me, Tom Fordyce.
Episode 2 already, lads. We're getting back into the groove here now, aren't we?
It's a different sort of groove, Chris, isn't it? Like we were at Crouchy's house last week. Today we are in a pub in Manchester. Have you seen we got a proper jukebox on the wall?
Yes. Good jukebox as well. I've had a little leaf through it.
Any good?
There's a few beauties, yeah. I just it reminds me of when I had a jukebox. And
What, at home?
Yeah. Ab made me sell it because it was massive, to be fair, and it just didn't go with the feng shui of the house.
Also, have you seen that Netflix show? What's it? Marie Kondo. My wife got me onto this, and she wanted me to do a big clear out. And the way that you got to do it is go through everything, and if it sparks joy, you get to keep it.
It sparks
joy? It's a massive TV show.
I think I'd get rid of everything. I mean, what
I worry you're
joy?
a hoarder.
I am hoarding, yeah. Like, my dad can't throw away things. Like, this massive casino table turned up that I forgot I had, right? And in the velvet, it says Crouchy's Casino.
No.
And I've got chips with Crouchy's Casino.
To get your face on it?
No, it just says Crouchy's Casino with the number of the, what it's worth. But
That's got to have been some amazing nights at Crouchy's
God.
Casino. I love it when poker gets ridiculous. So, like, the clothes go in, then maybe the keys to the car, that sort of thing.
Footballers' car keys.
Did it ever escalate?
Well, it did escalate, but mainly through choice. And one Tuesday, we finished training. It was Glenn Johnson was due to host the poker game, and we decided that it would be better if we did it in fancy dress. So, and what we thought was hilarious was we'd all sit round, and if you lost the game in the pub, you had to go to the toilet and change, so you would be the first one to come out in your outfit when no one else is in.
You all had outfits with you.
Yeah, so we all had them in bags, but no one knew what.
Oh, yeah.
Who dreams this stuff up? Whose idea was this? This is mad.
I don't know. I think it might have been Sean Davis, but anyway, it was good times. And one by one, every 10 minutes, someone else come out. Like there was a squirrel.
Who was the squirrel?
Pennant was a squirrel. I was a headless horseman. My head would be here behind. So a shirt. So then on top of the shirt was a bit of scaffolding, and then the headless man.
Okay.
So can you imagine how high this is? Honestly, when I was thinking it through, I thought it'd be a great idea. Didn't factor in doors. So yeah, getting through doors was a nightmare for the whole evening.
Now, boys, we've had some emails in. I know, Crouchy, you check your BBC email all the time. Have you seen this one, Chris? I think you got sent this one as well from a chap called Nico Gibson. Right, I'm going to show you this, Chris, first of all, and you can just see the creature that he sent.
Oh, yeah.
So, Crouchy, you might not want to look at this.
Yeah.
I know how you feel about Alsatians.
Okay.
Where's Crouchy?
You can't live like that. With a beast like that roaming around your hallway.
So he says, "Where's Crouchy?" in his Alsatian.
No,
Goes mental.
Yeah, it's so what? So like they're reacting to the
Because we had this theory on the first series that there was something about your tone of voice that either aroused or enraged Alsatians.
No way.
He's tested it out on his own Alsatian, and that's the result.
I actually think they're nice-looking dogs, and I think they're good. But I just had a bad experience, and it's hurt me.
Mate, there's other emails on a similar topic. This is from Nick in Wigan. When I was 6, I was playing football in the local park, and I too had an Alsatian start running towards me. In a moment of panic, I started to run, but the Alsatian caught up with me and bit me on the arse. Moral of the story, Mum bought me shit trainers. Nick in Wigan. That's a great email.
Here's one from Ed the Stokey. Ed the Stokey says, "Hey Peter, love the podcast, good man Ed. He says, my mate runs a music venue in London, and he says he met you at the Mumford and Sons after-show party. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
You went to Mumford and Sons?
I did.
You went to the after-show party?
I did, yeah. It was
Okay.
it was a great little
Let's see, like the next bit. He says that you ended up riding a bicycle owned by a staff member around the venue. Any truth in this claim? Thanks, Ed the Stokey.
Oof. Right, so yeah, it got to a point in that evening where this could have happened. Yeah, it was great. I think, I'll be honest, the whole of all those boys are great, and we got on that house on fire. They looked after us. I was with a few friends and stuff, and things just kicked on. And we had a great time, and things kicked on even more. And I do remember, it was a good vibe of a place. I can't remember the specific moment when I rode the bicycle around the place,
but a bike is quite memorable. You don't get many bikes in venues, do you?
I think there was a bicycle there, yeah, so I don't know. I don't remember riding it.
That's probably why you rode it, though, because if you're in a venue
Exactly.
and you see a bicycle... And
be like, oh, let's get a load
this
of
would be really
bike.
it'd be really funny to go around an empty venue.
It could have been a split-second decision. I remember the people that put on the venue, they had like loads of air guitars. We were playing them for a bit.
Hang on, they had loads of air guitars that were invisible.
Blow-up air guitars.
An air guitar.
Oh, I thought this was a prank on you that you're now telling us. I played air guitar with Mumford and Sons.
Yeah, here, Crouchy, hold this one carefully.
They actually had loads
it's
of air
vintage.
guitars though, and they're really expensive. And
Well,
really
it actually
fun.
makes a lot of sense because it's a guitar made filled with air.
I mean, inflatable guitar.
Well, yeah, I suppose, but it has got air in it.
Do like managers worry about you in like it's like Crouchy, multi-million-pound footballer. There's a lot of value in you if you're a racehorse, like if you think of yourself as a product.
We're going to
and you're
stud.
pissing around on bicycles with Mumford and Sons. Is this
Yeah.
the sort of stuff that gets
No, well,
back
we
to the
had
manager?
we had a day off the next day.
Yeah, but I mean, like the potential for injury in these
I
situations.
don't know.
you just don't-
On the flip side of that, you could say that I'm doing fitness in the evenings.
Yeah, very good
Was it-
point.
what
that's,
side-
that's how you'd spin it to the manager, isn't it?
The other day, who else was riding a bicycle at 4 in the morning?
Pulis would love that, wouldn't he?
It's exercise. It's spot on. It's good.
Was it, look, because you're obviously slightly taller than the average man, can you remember how big the bike was? Or did you look like, when you get those people like a bear in a Victorian circus riding a unicycle where you... Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, it's love the way you're just describing it visually is fantastic. What I remember rightly, I was in a part of East London where they have old school bicycles on the wall, or it was a bit trendy.
You took it off the wall.
So I'd say it was a trendy bicycle that I was riding. Right, enough nonsense. Let's get on with it. This episode is all about overhead kicks.
Crouch going for the spectacular. Oh, what a goal from Peter Crouch!
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Chris, the thing for me, right, about overhead kicks is they are the most impossible skill for the likes of you and me to even imagine. Like, we could head the ball, you could probably put away a penalty, you can trap the ball, but an overhead, I'm literally never going to do an overhead kick. Ever.
And even when you sort of practice in the park with mates, or you have a little kick around, it just doesn't happen.
Have
And
you ever-
eventually
have
when
you
you
ever pulled one
connect,
off?
it's but it's like it will only be where you sort of got your legs slightly over your head and shinned it, and it's sort of dribbled in. It's not like it's technically gone in. Do you know what I mean? You've basically thumbed it in.
Yeah.
But it's not impressive. It's not impressive, and there's no crowd, and
There's
it's
no
on
crowd.
the 500th go on it. So God knows how you actually master that.
Yeah, I mean, I've always enjoyed them. I loved watching them when I was a kid. I watching Mark Hughes, Hugo Sanchez, Gianluca Vialli scored a few. Van Basten scored some. Some of my favourite goals were like that technique. So when we were in the park, I was in Pixar Park as a kid, and we always used to get my mate to go down the right, and he used to always hit a cross behind me, and then I used to do a few for him, and we just used to practice it non-stop. But because it's not really practice if you're enjoying it, do you know what I mean? We just used to love it and do it until it was dark, just replicating some of the best goals we saw. And that's what I always did. So
Why does it work so often, though? Like, for me, when you see people attempting overhead kicks or bicycle kicks, if it doesn't go in, it often goes close.
for me, I don't know. It's something that I don't practice too much now. It's more sort of instinctive. And I think, obviously, it's been developed now when people talking about scorpion kick. I mean, if I'd have seen a scorpion kick when I was a kid, I'd have been doing it every single day, or trying to practice it, trying to get one right. I'd never saw it, never seen it before, and that technique to me is alien, and for me it's totally instinctive. I don't think they've gone practicing that. That's just happened, and I think that's just a good player improvising. And I suppose in some way that's what the overhead kick and the scissor kick is. But like I say, when they fly in, they look spectacular and they feel great.
For some reason, the overhead kick has worked well for you, hasn't it? Like, why is it your thing? Are you just built for it?
No, I think you'd probably say the exact opposite. I know I've got long limbs and stuff like that, but
Really?
I think,
You're like the opposite of an iceberg, though, aren't you? In the sense that when you perform an overhead kick, you've lost most of your body. Your leg tall, aren't you? So as soon as your legs are in the air, you haven't got to deal with, your head bashing off the ground or anything like that.
Well, that's why a lot of like the ones that have scored and stuff have been so high up, because obviously my legs are so long. You got to straighten them, so they are high. But they have worked. They have worked for me, and that feeling. Obviously, the Champions League one I think was my favourite, maybe because of the scenario it was in. It was Cop End in the Champions League for Liverpool. I got obviously the one against Bolton was similar. What is frustrating is I scored one for Portsmouth against Stoke in the Setanta years that got lost.
No one even knows it exists.
No one will ever see that again, I don't think. But that was actually one of my favourites. It was Jermaine Defoe hung it up to the back post, and I scored one there as well. And
that's the football equivalent of the old philosophical thing about if a tree falls in a forest and no one hears it, doesn't fall down, isn't it? Like footballer scores an amazing overhead kick on Setanta.
Yeah.
Does it actually?
It doesn't count.
Doesn't actually happen.
I lost a few goals to Setanta.
You were the victim when they went down, not the people working for Setanta, or the people with subscriptions.
No. I lost.
You were your goals
because I'm looking at that. The show that Sky do now with the 100 Club, and I was so honoured to get in that club. And they've missed out. I was like, fuck Setanta. They killed me there. They done me.
Going back to the Champions League goal, right? When you score that, what I wanted to know is, like, once you'd done it, did you hear the crowd react before? Because you're on your back, aren't you?
Yeah. Did you know as soon as your foot has hit the ball?
Literally, as soon as I connected with the ball, I knew it was in. I remember everything about it. I think it was Steve Finnan went down the right and obviously dinked that perfect ball where it's absolutely perfect for
it
the
was
overhead
hanging.
kick.
It was absolutely.
It was hanging. The other thing with this one is that I didn't have many people near me, so I could have probably taken a touch. But yeah, I think I'd scored in the first half already, so I was confident. That definitely helps. If you're not confident, you're not going to try something outrageous. So, and I just tried it. Yeah. So, and obviously it come off, and I knew it was flying in the moment it left my foot. So by the time I looked up, it was, the net was already bulging, and then it was off. And looking back on it now, I see it obviously every now and then, and seeing Garcia's reaction and Alonso's reaction.
So Garcia does a sort of, oh my God, I can't believe it.
Yeah, he puts his hands on his head. Yeah, and I don't know whether it's because I was such a crap footballer he couldn't believe what I'd just done, or
is it disrespectful of Luis
or whether
Garcia?
it was a good volley. It may be a bit of both. The next day it was on the back page of all the papers. Yeah, so I've kept those papers. My mum, right from when I first started getting into newspapers and they were doing reports and stuff, she's kept all the newspaper clippings, and so like it was everything. Even when I was playing for England, but even when I was Sunday League and got in the local paper, she'd kept all of that. So every image, on the back page of every paper the next day was various photos, and one of them I've got on the wall. Yeah, so it's nice to be able to look back on that and keep.
I mean, like, Champions League is good because Champions League, right? But what is your favourite overhead goal?
For me, Trevor Sinclair.
He smashed that one.
It's QPR Barnsley in the FA Cup. It's not the Champions League final, which is why Bale and people like that might get. But if you look at the skill that Trevor Sinclair's produced there, I think he took a couple of steps backwards. That's the one where he's in the middle,
right?
He's
sort of middle
outside
of the
goal.
Across from the right, he's miles out.
He's miles out.
Top
he's
bins.
miles out. And the power it goes in and the athleticism is frightening. So for me, that's the best one.
Crouchy, be honest now, was Rooney's a shinner?
Yeah, Man United against Man City, 2011. He's
You think about that
absolutely
scenario.
smashed it, but you watch it back, it's definitely shinny.
Yeah.
You think about that scenario he's in, the Manchester derby, huge game. To even attempt that, it was incredible. I mean, his leg was so high, volley was impeccable. Did it have an element of shin? Yes.
Yes, Crouchy.
What percentage of shin was it?
I'd say it was a 10% shin.
So 10% shin, how much ankle?
No, I don't think I'd say 5% shin, more ankle, but still an incredible volley.
Shinned it is what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying that. I didn't say that.
He's mates with him. He's trying to tell us he shinned
I
it.
didn't say that. I said there's an element of shin.
Has Wayne Rooney got big shins? You've seen them close up.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, I wouldn't put past Wayne Rooney to deliberately use his shin.
Isn't this great though that so many people criticise that? It's an unbelievable goal.
We're picking
for
holes
shinning
in
it. It's like it is still a goal. Maybe he's done that on purpose to get it.
Well, also-
No.
Like the shin
There's no denying the skill. He has attempted an overhead kick, and that overhead kick flew into the net.
Yeah,
no
but
matter what the skill.
Shinning it is
It's
frowned
even
upon.
he's thought I could just kick this overhead kick, but I'm going to shin this overhead kick.
Yeah,
I'm
'Cause he
joking.
shinned
I don't
it.
think there's an element of shin. I really don't. I think
got
there
Yo,
is. No, because it's ankle, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's not like
ankled
he hasn't
it.
shinned it. There's a hint of ankle.
That's never been
I've got
said
to
in a
backtrack
football.
from an element of shin to a hint of ankle.
it's like
It was just a hint of ankle, Your Honour.
this is like Victorian porn.
Yeah.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
What about your favourite one that you've scored?
For everything, I think it was the Galatasaray one, but the Portsmouth against Stoke was definitely up there. And there was one I scored up for Stoke. I tried against Birmingham City, and it rattled off the bar. And I think if that had gone in, that, as an actual goal or skill, I think that would have eclipsed them all.
Like, this is what I don't get. So I used to go to the park and try it out. I pay more five-a-side now, so you'd never get to do it because the
ball can't
ball's
go
not
overhead
allowed
high,
to
yeah.
be over. So
Unless
it's
you
kind of
lay down to do an overhead kick.
kills my part of the game. Yeah, unless you're sat down and give it a go, but it's rare. But it's not quite the same, is it?
Sitting down in the middle of the pitch. Start, what are you doing?
Just attempting it.
You laugh, but I'll be playing that soon. Sit down football. That's what I'll be doing for a living.
You know when you do an overhead kick, do you make an effort noise? Do you know what I mean? Like when you jump up, do you go,
Is there a noise? No, like a tennis noise.
Yeah, like a surf.
No, I don't think there is a noise. I think there's a when you land, maybe.
It just happens quickly, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
Honestly, the adrenaline, the buzz when you see it coming behind you, and I think Steve Finnan was great at those crosses, and I think Glenn Johnson was another one that used to beat someone. Aaron Lennon was another one that go past someone, and you know that instead of that whip ball, you
just
get
hung
that
up.
stand-up one.
Yeah.
And for me, that's always been a better ball, the stand-up one, because if it's nearer the goal, I go and attack it with my head. I know where the ball is. I can go and bang. And if it's behind me, it's a volley. So
It means you've got to put the pace on it at that point.
Yeah, well, I've always enjoyed the stand-up ball rather than the whipped cross. I always think that suits like a smaller, nippier, get across the front.
Yeah.
Like an Ian Rush right across the front and glance one in. Whereas for me, stand it up and head it or volley it. For me, it was always a better
But
ball.
you know what I was saying, like about practicing in five-a-side? What I'm intrigued about is how often it's gone wrong for you, because
you
I
never
can go
see
on
that.
YouTube and see your goals, right? But I don't see the mistakes that you make.
I'll be honest, certainly with an overhead kick, with the way I look and stuff like that, if I get it wrong, as I did in the World Cup.
Against Trinidad.
Against Trinidad. I got one wrong. And yeah, we're talking here about, how fantastic those goals were, great. Yeah, but God, you get it wrong as well. And I remember in the World Cup, I got one wrong. And there's like a meme gone around everywhere.
Have you seen these, Chris?
I don't remember this.
You're not seeing it? Well,
It's amazing.
It's everywhere, yeah. And I mean, it looks limbs everywhere.
There's a photo where Crouchy's, it looks like he's, your right foot is stretched right over. And so people have photoshopped it into different situations. So Crouchy is the propeller on a plane.
Oh, man.
He's a jockey like low over the neck of a horse.
I sort of recognise
Yeah,
it.
there we go.
Slam dunking.
Slam
Oh,
dunking.
mate.
I'm breakdancing.
How wonderful is this that you
Oh, yeah.
can Google yourself, though, and see all of these?
There we go.
Mate, you're doing everything.
Oh, what am I in the war
World
there?
War II.
So that's a great one.
You're
to me about
loving
that. No,
them.
it's
Surfing one.
surfing.
But you know what the beauty of this is? Because you scored later on, no one remembers that miss.
I suppose so, yeah.
Had England lost that game to Trinidad, every time Crouchy went out, people would be going, yeah, thanks to the overhead kick, mate.
Yeah.
It's Trinidad.
Yeah,
Because we won, it's like it's been satanic.
Yeah, it's fine margins, isn't it? I suppose if if I hadn't scored in that before and we lost that Galatasaray game and I blazed one into the cop, wouldn't be sitting here doing this podcast, would we?
Chris, do you think, right, we've established that you and I can't really do overhead kicks and that Crouchy doesn't really make a noise till he lands. Do you think if you were doing it, you'd make... Because I think I would do a sort of karate noise, like a sort of, hi-ya!
I guess so. Do you know what bothers me more about that whole situation is, the noise that I would make, it would be straining, really straining. And the other thing would be how you celebrate. Because I think there's quite an undignified scramble afterwards. It's a bit like your parents arriving at home and sort of girls picking up the knickers next to her and sort of thing, like scrambling over, like you've got to get up and like, whereas running off to the side, like
Great analogy.
Well, no, but what I mean is like, do you ever regret your celebration off the back of an overhead kick? Like, because there could be something amazing about just lying there, couldn't it?
Yeah. The one against Bolton, I did something stupid. I just pushed people off and dived on the floor. That could have been a bit more stylish, but I've regretted a few celebrations over the years. We've discussed that in previous pods, haven't we? There's been a few that I've just looked back and gone, why can't I just been a little bit more cool? Sometimes you can't legislate for what you do. So excited.
Are we spoilt now, do you think? So there was a point where the overhead kick was so rare and so beautiful that you could do a really shit one and people would go bananas about it.
Yeah, that's
do you know what I mean? But now we see overhead kicks all the time that maybe we're just a bit... do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like some of the early ones... So Pele was the man who really sort of brought it to the fore, wasn't he? Do you know where it actually started, Chris? I've done a bit of research on this. It's quite a weird idea. So it started, apparently, in the docks in Chile. British seamen took football over to South America and they used to have kick-arounds in the docks. And then according to stuff that I've read... the locals would just have a little kick around with them and then start doing overhead kicks. Weird idea.
Like there's a bit of the story missing.
I know, that's why I thought.
Like it was really setting the scene wonderfully, and they just started doing overhead kicks as if that's a historical event.
There's no reason for that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, imagine the sailors have got off the boat and they've got scurvy probably, and they're all in their sort of Breton jumpers, and they're kicking around a proper old-fashioned football, which wouldn't have been easy to overhead kick. And then some local just jumps up in the air and whoosh.
Yeah.
I must have told you that Doug Ellis told me that he invented the overhead kick.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
So Doug Ellis invented the
Former
overhead
Villa chairman.
Yeah. So Doug Ellis actually invented the overhead kick. He's adamant that he invented it.
What was his chat? Because this is a man who wore slippers for the last 10 years of his life, even at matches.
This is amazing, right? So I'm in the boardroom. I've just signed for Aston Villa. And I'm 21. It's my first Premier League club. The size of the club, you're at Villa Park. I'm literally in Villa Park. And everyone's going, right, you've got to come with me. Doug. I went in to meet him. And he said, like, everyone out. And I had a chat. So it's just me and him one-on-one. And when I came out of the chat, the chief executive, Graham Taylor, was there. And they both said, did he tell you invented the overhead kick? And I said, yes. That's all we talked about. We literally only talked about him inventing the overhead kick.
And he said that to you straight.
His words to me was, I invented the overhead kick. And I said, really? And he said, we were playing, obviously, when he was playing football, it was a long time ago. He said he did this thing, the ball bounced up. He did this thing. And everyone said, oh my God, what was that you just did? And he said, that's the overhead kick.
That's ridiculous. You can't claim that.
Honestly, yeah. So he's.
Did you push him on it at all?
He claimed that. Well, I would.
He's about to give you a lot of money, isn't he?
Yeah, I was like, I just okay, fair enough. But then I spoke to Dion actually at the Samrat. Dion said to me, he said the exact same thing to me. Told me about the overhead kick. If you ask a lot of players or people that knew Doug Ellis really well, they will vouch that. Well, he said that he invented the overhead kick, and
kicking the ball backwards
wasn't one to argue.
above head height.
But he's a chairman. He didn't even. Did he play professional football?
Which is an incredible thing to claim you've invented.
It's a big claim, and I think that's why it's quite funny because
I do think people believe that sort of thing. It's
because it's so outrageous. Like, it's how can you disprove the fact that Doug Ellis?
You can't disprove it, and
he's gone for a big one, hasn't he?
He may well have invented it, or it was always there. It's a bit like undiscovered islands. The islands have always been there.
Yeah.
But, someone eventually goes and claims
But
them.
Yeah.
He claimed it.
He planted his flag.
Yes.
Someone's done it for the first time, haven't they? Similar to like Cruyff. He did well, didn't he? I mean,
Well, what people say they did that. There was that going on for years. before he'd
someone
done it.
did it before Cruyff did it.
Yeah.
I think the reason Cruyff got it named after him is because of when he did it. It was in a
telly.
big game on telly, for Holland. The defender's gone for it so badly.
The defenders made it,
It was
really.
incredible skill, and I think someone probably done that before him, but. I mean, there's certain skills, isn't there, you associate with players. I think Ronaldinho, that one, that the sort of flat one, that I associate that with Ronaldinho. But
About the Owen step over, do you think he can claim that? No?
What, Michael Owen?
excuse me,
The step over.
I just remember us all being in. I went and did this FA Football Academy training thing. I think it was around the time Owen was doing all those videos.
Yeah.
Well, the instructional videos where you sort of bullied a child. And I remember our football coach having us all do the sort of the step over from Argentina.
Argentina 98.
Yeah.
That goal, mate.
that was more of a little wiggle
So
whammy,
you don't
wasn't it?
think he can't claim that?
No,
really.
no.
Have you invented anything on or off the pitch?
Well, the robot. Clearly the robot was a
yeah.
body popping staple on the streets of New York in the early 80s, and then those pioneers have been forgotten in this country, at least.
Yeah.
No, I just think I just took it mainstream. They've been doing it, and obviously it was underground, it was pirate, but I just I felt that they needed a voice,
Yeah.
and I had that stage to provide it.
Do you think as a striker you get an unfair advantage for the glory of the overhead kick because there's a goal that comes from it, whereas defenders do overhead kicks and don't get any credit
Because there's
for
no
amazing
goal, they're clearing it,
clearances?
I'll be honest, I'm a big fan of the defender backed into the corner.
Yeah.
And
Flick.
flick it up and then overhead kick it well. And it always gets a cheer. Everyone loves it. It's a good overhead kick. I like it. But it's not the same, is it? It's not quite the same.
It's not on YouTube, is it?
What is the worst overhead kick you've ever seen, Crouchy? Like this, forget professional football in a match. Have you ever seen someone attempt it in training and like dislocate their hip or something?
Ooh. I'm trying to think. It's not attempted very often. I think some people that attempt them are usually not bad at them, otherwise you wouldn't attempt them. Shaqiri was very good. He scored quite.
Shaqiri scored a great
blind.
He scored a great
Switzerland.
one in the Euros,
Yeah.
didn't he? So he was good at them. He scored a few in training that I saw.
When you say he scored a few in training, is that just from a training match scenario?
In a
or is
game,
that,
yeah,
like,
in a
practicing?
training game.
How does that go
no.
down? Do people think that's a bit big time, Charlie?
No,
I love it.
great. It's good to see. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. His first training session was one of the best training sessions I've ever seen from any player. He literally came in and scored a hat trick. He dinked Jack Butland from. Actually, I'm not sure it was Jack Butland, but it was one of our goalkeepers in the 6-yard box.
What?
And he wasn't even down. He went to the side and just dinked it to the far post. It was an amazing goal. It was an unbelievable performance. And then I think reality hit.
First training session, though. But is that you're not meant to give it all that at training, are you?
Well, he was incredible. He genuinely was. I mean, he's such a naturally gifted footballer.
Can I ask about the Gareth Bale one in the Champions League final, which is an amazing overhead kick, Chris, isn't it? It's perfect because it's a massive occasion. It gets really high. He hits it sweet as a nut.
It's a dream goal. That.
It's absolutely dream.
Were you watching that game at home?
Yeah, I mean,
And what was your take on it when you saw that goal?
incredible. I mean, I'm still that kid that was watching football when I was 9. I still love to see great goals and volleying and overhead kicks, and that was what I loved. I loved watching it. Matt Letizia I was a huge fan of Matt Letizia. I love watching his volleys, the way he volleyed, and so when I saw Gareth Bale and Ronaldo score those volleys, I was out my chair jumping around. I'm not a Real Madrid fan. I don't care what happens, but I mean, you have to appreciate that skill.
And then do you, if I knew Gareth Bale, do you ever
Text him,
text
wouldn't
other
you?
players and just be
Exactly what I
like,
was gonna
what?
say.
That was a good, do you ever
Game's
do
still
that?
going on. You've
Like,
texted him.
Yeah.
Fucking
Because I
hell.
think I've even done that with you. Now that I know you a bit, I'll sort of text and say I did all right there. Got the penalty for him. It's like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'd be texting Bale and what the hell
Without
do you text?
doubt. I mean, I've known Gareth for a while. Like when I was at Spurs, his family used to go in the same box. We got the same agent and stuff. So, it's great to see him do well. And yeah, I think I tweeted about it, just saying like, well done and stuff. But I love to see that, and it's great for someone that we know to be playing in the Champions League final and winning. It's the pinnacle, isn't it? It doesn't matter who you are, and for Gareth as well, because he's such a nice fella and a talented player. So it's great to see.
So he scores amazing goals, Bale. But what is he actually like, Crouchy? What's he like around the training ground?
One of the best athletes I think I've ever seen. And pre-match, he'd just have baked beans and on toast. And it made me have baked beans on toast. And it didn't quite work so well for me.
Did you actually give it a go?
I did, yeah.
Thought,
No, 100%.
Gareth Bale's and baked beans.
I went Gareth Bale's and baked beans, and I watched him rip Maicon to shreds at White Hart Lane. I was thinking, what's in these beans? What's in these beans?
Mate, I see an advert coming on soon.
No,
what's in these beans?
I genuinely didn't work so well for me. Wasn't quite the athlete Gareth was.
Am I right in thinking you have also... have you got the pen? I don't know why I'm remembering this. Have you got the pen that Gareth Bale signed his Real contract with?
Yeah, so my accountant is Gareth's accountant, and Real Madrid president gives a pen to every Galactico or whoever does the deal. He gives them a pen as a memento. So my accountant,
as well as 300 grand a week,
his office in London, whatever, he still gets it out, and he loves telling the story. Melvin, I've got to give him a little name check because he loved that. Yeah, he still uses the pen when he always pulls it out, and he says, "Do you know about this pen?"
No, it's an accountant in London with Bale's pen.
Yeah,
is it a
Bale's
flashy
given
pen?
it to
Or
him.
is it
No,
like a
it's
big
like
biro?
I don't know whether he gives it to like whoever's brokers the deal, or he didn't give it to Gareth. I think he gave Gareth enough, to be honest. Yeah, he gave the pen to my account. So yeah, he's Melvin's sitting there.
What's his name? Melvin.
Melvin, yeah.
We'll get Melvin to the Samrat or wherever it is.
Yeah.
we decide.
Yeah.
And he sounds like a character.
Get
Is
his
he
pen
He
out.
brings his pen, yeah.
Is he listening to the podcast, old Melvin there?
Yeah, he's a big fan of a lot of the stuff that I do. All his boys, Gareth does, and deals with a lot of players. So
It'd be a good item, that, won't it? Melvin, me and my pen.
Yeah, Melvin brings in the pen. I don't know, maybe you can take an order on the phone or something. Imagine ringing up a curry house, not knowing that the order's been taken with the pen that Gareth Bale signed his contract with. I mean, it's a bit...
You're not going to guess it, are you?
You wouldn't suspect it,
No,
would
you wouldn't.
it's a nice pen though.
Is it?
You'd have
Does it not run out?
suspicions. He's like, where have you got that from?
I would imagine that Real Madrid would use a peacock feather dipped in ink.
Yeah.
Do you know what
that
I mean?
would be a nice touch,
With
wouldn't
maybe
it?
a melted rubber, a melted wax stamp as well.
I just like it as a tradition of signing that you get the same thing
You
at the
get
club.
the pen.
Do
I
you know
think
what
it's
I mean?
a lovely gesture, and I think it's a nice pen. And to say you sign for Real Madrid with this pen, it's a pretty amazing thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's wicked.
So it's nice. It's nice for him to have, and he keeps it and he still uses it.
It's been pretty cool hearing about like very famous footballers and their overhead kicks. But I reckon there's going to be loads of people listening to this who either play football or their kids play football, and maybe you could give them a guide to like the how to do it, like how to take the ultimate overhead kick.
Okay.
Can you break it down, do you reckon?
A lot of it is instinctive. A lot of it is very instinctive, but probably find that a lot of people sort of pull out, like a golf shot where you're not really committed to it. Where if you're committed to the shot, or you just play it and it's usually a good shot. I think it's similar with the overhead kick. If you don't commit to it, if you don't go right, I'm gonna have this, like there, bang, I'm gonna have it. If you don't go for it, then it's not gonna happen because it's unnatural, really, isn't it? I mean, you've got your back to goal and your legs are above your head. It's totally unnatural. So I think probably don't worry about your fall.
Don't fear injury.
Yeah,
fall will take care of itself,
Yeah, just obviously, yeah. I'll be honest. Whenever it's happened for me, the adrenaline's been pumping. I haven't even thought about how I'm going to land. You always land okay.
No, but that's the thing. But your body's doing certain things, whether you realise it or not. The crouch body is spotting a ball, like legs are going up.
The crouch
Do you
body.
know what I mean? Like perfect
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah.
Goal lands. Like
Yeah, I think, and that scissor motion is important. I think like where as you go up, you pull your left foot back and sort of go with your right. If you know what I mean. If that scissor motion definitely generates power.
Does that keep you in the air longer as well?
Yeah, possibly.
physically possible?
But
Don't know.
I think that scissor action will definitely create power. And I think the most important thing is eye on the ball, and the coordination of your eye on the ball. And I think at the end of the day, you're not worried about, where the goal is. You've just got to get it on target with power if you can, and that's all it's about. I don't think too much about it. Just go attack the skill, and hopefully it'll end up in the back of the net. But I think, as long as you commit to it and get your timing right, then it's going to work.
And ideally have a mate taking photos on the side.
I've got one question, Crouchy. Like, when you're doing an overhead kick, I imagine it goes really fast. But is there a point where you suddenly think, everyone's upside down?
It's a great question.
God, that's a valid question. No, because you you are so concentrated on the ball that there's nothing else you're thinking about at that precise moment. There is not one thing you're thinking about other than connecting with this football. If you got it wrong, you could be in the air kicking thin air.
I think I've stumbled on why you and I, Chris, have never successfully pulled off an overhead kick, because we're thinking things like, oh, look, everyone's upside down.
Yeah, we're spending more time imagining that scenario.
Actually looking at the ball.
Yeah, I think it's a very valid question. I suppose it leads on to being upside down. Suddenly, you're basically 69ing some defender, aren't you? As well,
For a very brief period, because at some point you would be in the perfect position, wouldn't you? Like, even for, I don't know, 100th of a second.
Yeah. But you're not thinking about it at the time, are you?
No, it's genuinely.
So mature.
Yeah.
One of the great overhead kicks, boys, I think, was Zlatan Ibrahimovic against England, Sweden, because he's miles out for starters. It's a ludicrous, no one else is going to attempt an overhead kick. Did that overhead kick, Chris, for you, did that both sum up the genius of Zlatan and also the arrogance of it?
I think Zlatan is the most confident, dare I say, arrogant player, but that's what makes him perform those types of shots when no one else would. There's an arrogance about good strikers, I think, and he's the prime example.
That's what he's about, isn't it? Is exudes confidence, but it's obviously so flexible as well. Obviously, I don't know what is it, kung fu or karate or whatever he does, but he gets his legs so high. But yeah, I mean, what a goal that was! And I think it was. I think that was actually Ryan Shawcross's debut for England. So he was at Stoke.
That's how people remember that guy. They don't talk about it as the Zlatan goal. They talk about it as the Shawcross goal.
What did Shawcross say about it?
Well, he played that game, and I felt sorry for him because he was unfortunately on the receiving end of that, and just said he was unplayable, which he was at that time. I mean, there was a point in his career, if not now, where he was literally unplayable.
What do people in football think about Zlatan? Do people think Zlatan is super cool, or do they think he's a bit of a twat?
Oh, Tom, beautiful. What I will say, for me, I can't speak for everyone. I can't speak for the whole of football. But what I will say is, for me, he's a legend. Always will be. I love the persona. I love Cantona. I loved everything he was about. That arrogance. When you can back it up as well. Someone who can say it how it is. Floyd Mayweather. People love him or hate him, but he backs it up. Zlatan's the same. He's Ronaldo in some ways has that arrogance about him. It's what I want to see. It's what I want to see from the top players. Is that kind of arrogance. And I think sometimes I wish people, had that more. It's sort of it's like acting in a way. It's like some of his quotes are the best things I've ever heard. And it was the same with Cantona. I mean, Cantona growing up, his collar up and the Nike advert and everything about what Cantona did was cool, wasn't it? And I think Zlatan's the sort of modern day Cantona.
Have you ever wanted to be more Zlatan? Isn't that the phrase? Have you ever,
That's a Zlatan
when
phrase,
you've stepped out, tried to give yourself a bit more of a ego?
I think in some ways every footballer's got an ego, because I don't think you get to. I don't think you're able to play at that level if you didn't believe in yourself. And there were times when I was, as a kid growing up, I had to sort of get that drummed into me, like you need to be more assertive, more confident. And I got that, and the more I played, the more I got it. And I think now I go onto a football pitch and I feel comfortable, and I'm not a Zlatan.
You don't imagine that
by
you're
any
Zlatan.
means. I don't imagine I am either, but I think every player has that in them has a bit of an ego, if you know what I mean. And some more than others, and there's some more less justified than others.
But isn't that a really interesting thing? Like, I don't even think growing up, I think even still playing a bit of five-a-side, like, I imagine I'm a certain player at times. I'm not claiming to be anywhere near that level. But what I'm saying is it wasn't just a kid thing. It's like when you're up front, you take on a certain personality. When you're playing in goal, you sort of imagine being just at a five-a-side level. But does that stop for you now because you're Peter Crouch?
No.
Or do you ever imagine that you're other players, or you think of other players?
Yeah, not in the slightest. I grew up with trying to emulate players. And even now, I see players doing things that, you know, I try like a kid would do. And it's weird that I'm 38 years old.
Who did you last emulate?
I was trying to do the wobble free kick that Ronaldo and Bale have
top
got in the
spinning.
locker. I just haven't got it in the locker, and it's so frustrating. Like, how do they do that? You know, like, and so I'm just trying to do things like that and go. You know, if we see like an amazing goal, try and replicate it. And yeah, do I do that? Yeah, definitely. And will I always do that? Yeah. Without a doubt. It gets to a stage where I'm a 50-year-old man trying to emulate a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
I mean, it will happen.
But that's class. Isn't it funny to imagine Crouchy still playing Premier League football, but going out sort of imagining he's another player?
I like the
Way,
idea of Crouchy in your back garden, that you're smashing a goal, probably into an empty goal, because no one else actually wants to play.
Yeah.
You've buried one, you've run away going, Zlatan scores!
Yeah.
Well, we're still in episode 2. We've got loads of messages. I think we should get some more in because I love these.
Right, you might like this one then. This is from Phil. Phil has messaged us to say... Right, this is a strange one, Crouch.
He's laughing already. Yeah? Why is he laughing already? He's happy.
You're
with
about
this.
to find out.
He's happy with this.
I just wanted to thank Crouchy for affecting my, quote, performance on my wedding night.
Hello.
It turns out I got married at the same place as Crouchy, which was where?
Stapleford Park in Leicestershire.
Lovely, Stapleford Park. Half an hour before the wedding ended, all the lads are in my ear telling me Crouchy would have done the deed in the same bed that I was about to head to.
No. Oh, this is brilliant.
Oh,
Phil continues, fair to say that while consummating my marriage, all I could think of was, I wonder what Crouchy got up to in here.
Oh, that's okay. I was worried he was going to say, what would Crouchy do?
What did Crouchy do?
I think I got smashed and passed out.
Hey, isn't that funny about hotel rooms, though? You turn up, you don't imagine, or you try not to, how many other
Thousands of people.
people... Yeah, slept in there and done everything that you can imagine in
That's
there.
a valid
It's
point.
like-
I mean, you could say that about
Any
any room. When you go into a room and stay there, you go, oh, so romantic. But if you think about what's
Crouchy's
happened
been at
previous
it in
evening,
all of
Yeah.
them.
it's not as... wasn't
Is that
me.
what you're saying? Sam's messaged us to say, a few years ago, I was in Liverpool, just by the Liver buildings, and my mate told me that she'd seen you going the other way. What does that mean?
It could mean all sorts.
I think just direction-wise. I turned to look, walked straight into a lamppost, and gave myself a black eye.
No way.
Harsh.
Oh, yeah.
And that's sort of your fault then. That was
Well, I suppose it is. I was there and he was looking. Yeah,
where there's blame, there's a claim. I would get on that, actually. Lawyer up. I assume you've got good lawyers, though. So
Not bad.
You will battle
I'll
against
fight it.
Sam goes on to say, it's my second best of seeing sports stars in public, only beaten by literally bumping into Chris Akabusi in Barclays. Amazing.
In Barclays?
Just imagine that. Yeah.
I suppose that's not a great moment, though, is it, really, bumping into a lamppost?
No.
I suppose if you literally bump into Chris Akabusi, it's, haha, that's a better one.
Do you know what? Can I read one more message just because this
Yeah,
one really
please
made
do.
me smile? So this is from one of our loyal podcast listeners doing his best to sort of spread the word of the
beautiful.
pod to everyone. So we love you for that. Thank you. This is from Will. It says, hi all, only started listening to Series 1 on Monday and have already finished it. It's now Thursday. Things haven't been going my way recently, but this podcast seriously has brightened up my last week. Haven't laughed so hard in a long, long time. I've passed it on to the office and got them all listening. Look forward to the next one. Best, Will.
Oh, nice one.
Isn't that nice?
That is nice.
And we've had a load of messages like that, haven't we? And they continue to come in.
Yeah, we've had some good ones that people, like you say, been in a different kind of place and it's made them smile. I suppose that's what, well, I'll be honest, it's a bit of therapy for me, so I come here and just have a great time, enjoy it, and glad people are at home enjoying it.
Yeah. And also just thank you to everyone that wants to share their life situations as well, because it's very personal. And and we got a lot of respect and time for that. Thank you.
Right, so Will's got in touch. Hi, Crouchy. Just listened to that Kits episode. It reminded me of a time when I was playing an opposition team sponsored by a Get Test. Hold on.
What's going on? This is going to be great. What is this?
Spit it out. Come on.
They were sponsored by a Get Tested for Chlamydia campaign.
Great.
Needless to say, we gave them pelters for the whole game.
Hang on.
Okay.
Pelters is not an STD, is it?
So hold on. So Get Tested for Chlamydia.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good message to pass, isn't it? I mean, no one wants chlamydia, and
Yeah, it's tricky, this, isn't it? When you, you're playing for a team, you can't control the sponsor. We've talked about this before. If that's the sponsor they've chosen, you just got to go with it. Hopefully, you'll get a new sponsor for the next season. Great campaign, but it's almost like you don't need those messages on the football pitch, in a way. No, maybe that's the...
I don't know. It's a weird one, isn't it? You don't want chlamydia on your shirt, do you?
Oh, it's so good to be back. This is the best podcast, mate. I love it. It's just fun, this, isn't it?
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
You don't want chlamydia on your shirt. That is a line that I don't think we're ever going to forget. And with that, we've reached the end of another episode. Thank you for downloading. We've got 2 bits of homework for you. So if you're passing the pod, please keep us updated with the amazing ways that you're doing it. Feel free to send us photos. And if you've ever had a dream about a footballer, we want to hear about it. You can find all 3 of us on Twitter or email peter.crouch@bbc.co.uk. The next episode, and I'm really excited about it, is all about subs, as in sitting on the bench. I promise you it's going to be a good one. Sounds dull when I put it like that, but we will be back stronger. Looking forward to it.